Hello folks, and welcome to this video review of Iron Factory's IF-EX36, the Tyrant, which is their interpretation of Megatron. Now, this is just going to be a re-upload of my original review of this figure, which isn't on Pokeball Collective, but you may have already seen it. If you have, I apologise. If you haven't, hopefully you'll still enjoy it. I just thought since it was my very first video review, I would re-upload it as it was. Maybe you'll take a look at my new reviews and say I've gone downhill since I recorded this one, but anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Let's get a look at what we have here. This look is based off his appearance in IDW's Megatron Origin comics. You can see he's got these more stylized, bulky proportions than the average Megatron. It's more keeping with the War Within and IDW designs that Iron Factory tends to lean towards. He's also got a lot of lovely painted detail. You can see in his helmet he's got these red gladiator markings. Some other details picked out in red here and there. Got this lovely silver paint all over with some metallic gunmetal here and there. The design is very clean too. You know, there's virtually no vehicle kibble apart from these treads, which are part of the design. So that means there's very little to get in the way of his articulation, and boy does he have his fair share of that. We have a ball joint and a hinge at the head, so you can look up and down reasonably far and get some nice natural poses with the head. The shoulders are on a hinge and a ball joint. The pad is also on a hinge, so you can get a good range of motion there. We have a rotation at the bicep and over 90 degrees of bend there at the elbow. The wrists rotate, and these open hands are on a little hinge. At the waist we have 360 degrees of rotation, no ab crunch. You can adjust these hip skirts and get the full splits in both directions. We have a rotation at the thigh there, and a lovely double jointed knee with no awkward gaps there in the front. The ankles are on a ball joint, so you get plenty of range for a wide stance. And lastly, the toes are on a hinge, so you can have him lean on the back foot if you like. And to top it off, all of these joints are rock solid. Like in his shake test there, you can see nothing's going anywhere. Now for arguably the best thing about this figure, the accessories. You get an absolute ton of extra stuff with this guy, including a set of extra hands for IF-EX20R, their Starscream, although I'll set those to the side. We have a sword that can be plugged into one of his open hands, and a mace, his classic Energon mace, that can be swapped out for any of his hands. We also have a pair of closed fists and a pair of open hands that can be swapped out for the gripping hands that he comes with by standard. All of these other armor parts here can be used to customize Megatron for a variety of his appearances in the IDW comics. This first configuration we have here, as we already mentioned, is his Origins form. Now for his next form, we want to pop off these little blasters and set those to the side. We want to swap out his cannon and take the included screwdriver to loosen the screw in the back of his head and swap that out for a new one. Tighten that screw up if you want. This is meant to emulate his appearance in Infiltration, I believe. Now for the next form, we want to strip him down to his bare bones, and starting with his cannon, we can then remove the shoulder panels, set those to the side, remove the hip skirts, untab these leg panels, Untab the treads, unscrew the head and pop that off. There we have our bare skeleton. Now I want to take in these new leg panels, slot those on. The new hip skirts, peg those in. The new shoulder panels, tab those on. A new back panel, that'll slide on there. And his last head, loosen that and pop that on. Finally, his third and final cannon will slot in there. This is a much more recognizable G1-esque appearance, like he appeared in the All Hail Megatron comics. Also kind of reminds me of Make Toy's Despotron in terms of proportions. Very chunky. Advertise a fourth form for him in the instructions and on the box, but all this is swapping out this back panel for the treads again. And this is meant to be how it appears in Monstrosity. But as you can see, there's not much of a change there. And obviously you don't have to stick to the suggested configurations. You can mix and match parts like I've done here. This is usually how I display him. And pick your favorite look for him. For some size comparisons, there he is with his second in command, Iron Factory Starscream. There he is with his Enforcer, Iron Factory Tarn. Here he is with MechFans Toys Shockwave and Hot Soldiers Soundwave. I think he's maybe a little bit too short to work with Legends XL figures like these guys. Shockwave's maybe alright, but the Tyrant is only about 10 centimeters tall to the top of his head, whereas these guys are more like 10.5, 11 centimeters. There he is with some of the other Iron Factory figures that have been reviewed on the channel. You can see the Fallen stands a little bit taller than he does, due to a different part for the feet. And of course, what is Megatron without his arch nemesis Optimus Prime? There he is with Iron Factory's Ultimate Commander here on the left. As you can see, those two look really good together. The only problem is Ultimate Commander is very hard to come by these days. So if I swap him out for a different Prime here, here he is with Hot Soldiers or Mech Planet Prime. He's a little too tall, I think. You probably want a taller Megatron if this is your Optimus Prime. But yeah, I think Tyrant will work well with the smaller scale Legends figures like Iron Factory, New Age, DX9, Magic Square. I think that scale will work alright. There he is with Transformers Animated Voyager Lugnut. You can sort of see that I think that scale works, you know. If you have a Voyager figure that's too small for scaling with other Voyagers, you can maybe work with it. And if you don't have any of those figures to compare him with, there he is with a Lego Stormtrooper. I think anyway, everyone should be able to tell how tall he is from that. Again, he's about 10 centimeters tall to the top of the head. A couple of things to note before we get to the transformation. You can transform him with any of his armor parts equipped except for this back piece, because he needs these treads to form the front of the tank. If you have him displayed in his G1 form and you want to approximate an alt mode for him, you can try using the blaster that comes with Starscream. Or if you have something similar, you can use that. And also, we want to swap out these hands for these gripping hands, as they will be able to fold in and remain unseen in alt mode, whereas the closed fists and open hands won't. To begin transforming him, we will remove his cannon. Fold these kneecaps down on their double hinge. Bend the toes in as far as they can go. Then unclip the inside of the leg and fold that down. The inner leg assembly is on a double hinge, so you want to fold that up into the upper position on both sides. And before clipping these legs together, you want to bring his crotch plate down it through, and then tap these together at the bottom. Now there's a little bit of fiddliness in whatever way you have the joints positioned to get it to sit flat. Now moving on to the arms. First you unfold this panel, rotate the wrist, fold the hand in and close the panel back up. Same on the other side. Open the panel, rotate the wrist, fold the wrist in and close the panel. Now you want to flip these shoulder pads down and rotate the lower arm to line up this sort of beveled edge, and you want to do it the same on the other side, so you have the ports facing forward when you're done. Now we untab the treads from the back and tilt his head back, then open up his chest and take this assembly the arms are connected to out, fold that down. Now close the chest back up, rotate his head 180 degrees and fold that into the space in his back. Now you can rotate these arms up, and there are little tabs here and here to slot into tabs here and here. Those clip in, treads fold out and point forwards. You can then slide the upper section of them back and tap it in. Same the other side. Then these will tab into the sides of the body. Well, here we have the basic tank mode. I want to attach one of the cannons, and the way you do this for each one is different. For this G1 stock cannon, you want to bring the end piece and put it in between the barrel and the main body, like this. Then want to open up these panels, like so, and this will tab in to this little slot on each arm. And close that back up and peg the arms back in. That's a pretty solid connection. For the Origins cannon, this piece and the bottom folds out and the sides open like with the G1 cannon, and that's how you tap it in. For the War Within style cannon, all you have to do is open up the sides and it's ready to tab in. If you're using these leg panels, all you have to do is flip the knees in like so, and they're ready to attach. And there we have him in his tank mode. Not much in the way of posability. The turret can rotate in a small arc, not a full 360 degrees, and it can aim up if you untap the arms. Treads don't move, no rolling wheels, and you probably don't want to slide them along the ground because this is all painted on the bottom and you don't really want to wear that off. It's durable paint, but there is a risk. This is how he looks with the Origins parts. This is how he looks with the War Within or Infiltration parts. And here he is with the Monstrosity G1 All Hail Megatron parts. Now, the alt mode is by no means bad. I think the back of it looks better with the other parts, so you can, so the legs are a bit more hidden. It's by no means bad, but you can tell sacrifices were made in favor of the robot mode. Especially if I compare him here to some other Iron Factory tanks, Warpath and Brawl. You can tell the focus was not on this alt mode. It's passable. It's still fairly impressive. Here he is with the two primes from before, our Iron Factory on the left and Hot Soldiers on the right. And that concludes the review for Iron Factory IF-EX36, the Tyrant, aka Megatron. Overall, I think this is a great figure. He's got some amazing posability and a really nice aesthetic that I absolutely love. You know, I'd even recommend him if you don't collect Legends figures. He's just really fun to mess with and not something you would want to miss if you're a fan of the character. Thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out the other reviews on the channel if you enjoyed.